Hello my friends, yes, this is Matilda and welcome again to Tilda's cookbook, hopefully all safe and healthy. Today I'm going to share with you a recipe of mini cheese pies with an extra scent of ground cumin, which gives it a sense of oriental taste really, and with a dough that it's my mother's recipe, really favorite in the family. We use it for all our pies, spinach pies and cheese pies and everything. In Greek we call it Kourou, and it's really easy to make, even by hand, and the filling is really delicious. You can have it in little bites or in a big pie. I'll show you how to make. And for this delicious recipe, let's get started. For the dough, we're going to be using 200 grams of yogurt, 190 grams of olive oil, 200 grams of lukewarm water, 1 medium egg, 1 tablespoon of baking powder and heaping one, and half a teaspoon of salt, and then approximately 900 grams of all-purpose flour.
And an easy way to remember how to do the measuring is by using the container of the yogurt. You measure exactly the same for the oil and the water.
And for the filling of our pie, we're going to be using 550 grams of feta cheese, 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm using evaporated, any would do. 3 small eggs, or if you don't have small, 2 medium. Half teaspoon of pepper and 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. I started by putting the 4 cups of flour and my salt, the baking powder, and I use my spatula to give it a little mix to incorporate them all together before I start putting my liquids, the olive oil and the water.
The egg,
and the yogurt, and then I'll start mixing it. At first I use the low speed, and as soon as everything is a little bit incorporated, I increase it to 1 and let it mix. After a while I stop it and use my spatula to scrape off the sides to make sure that everything is nicely blended. And little by little I add more of the flour that I have. This is an extra cup. We need to have a soft but non-sticky dough, and play with your speed a little bit if you get a flour cloud until your dough is ready. After approximately 5 minutes of kneading, this is the consistency that we need to have. It's soft but non-sticky, you see. So we cover it up with a towel and let it rest until we prepare the filling. In a plate or a bowl, I break my eggs and give them a little mix. And then I add my milk and give them a mix again to incorporate them. In another bowl, I put in my feta cheese and with the use of a fork, I break it down into smaller pieces. You can use your blender if you want to, but it's easy to do it that way. No need really to dirty more appliances. See, it's done. And then I pour in the mixture with the eggs and milk. With the pepper, and the ground cumin. Oh my God, the smell is incredible at this moment. And I mix them up until I form a nice combined filling for my little pies. This is the flour that it was left from my whole 900 grams, and I'm going to use it to open up my filo. I sprinkle a little bit on my board, pour in my dough, knead it for a couple of minutes or so just to give it the shape. It doesn't have to be too much. Then press it down a little bit and separate it into 2 pieces. This is quite a bit of dough, so some of it you can put it in a plastic bag or a Ziploc and save it in the freezer. The rest I'm going to form it again into a ball. Sprinkle some flour on top of it and use a roller pin to open it up. The thickness is absolutely a matter of preference. I do mine between 3 and 5 millimeters, like half a centimeter or so. Then I use a glass, a round glass. You can use a cookie cutter if you have one. It makes things a bit easier, but I don't have one. And I form my rounds, which are going to be my little cheese pies. I should have dipped it into flour to make it easier. I forgot to do it, but you need to do that. Then I fill up each round with a little bit of my filling with a small spoon, with a teaspoon. And as soon as all of them are filled up, I take the top part and bring it down and stick it together with the bottom, closing it up all around, forming a little half moon. I keep on doing the same with the rest, and some of them I have to pick them up really because I think I filled them up a little too much. Try not to do that. And as soon as all of them are ready, I take a fork and press the edges down. This way I make a little design and also make sure that the edges are nicely close together, so they will bake really well. Then I use a tray with parchment paper to put them in. You can use any kind of tray, it's convenient for you. And as soon as they're all in, I brush them with some evaporated milk, like I always do. You can do egg wash if you prefer, but I like the way they cook. This way they get a bit shiny and get a nice color. But it's a matter of preference, of course. Then I sprinkle some sesame seeds on top, white sesame, and after that a little bit of black sesame. This is an ingredient that I didn't include in the recipe because it's optional. If you want to do it, you do it. They cook really nicely without it as well, so either way we do it, but we really love the sesame seeds. And they're ready to go into the oven to bake for 25 minutes or so at 200 degrees. The extra dough that I got from my first batch, I use it to make some more little cheese pies. At this time I remember to use the flour of my glass. And again I use whatever remaining I have to do some more of them to fill up a second tray. I got a bit distracted and I left my first batch 35 minutes, but they came out really not crunchy and dark. With the remaining of my dough, the pieces that I had, I opened up another filo, and I'm gonna make a bigger cheese pie, a tray. I'm using here a 25 centimeters tray. I greased it and I put in my filo. Make sure that you press it down a little bit to cover the corners, and pour in the remaining of the filling with the feta cheese and the eggs. Even it out a little bit with the use of your spoon to make sure that it covers all the area of your filo. And then put another piece on top of filo and close the area all around it by bringing down the sides and pressing them to stick them together with the bottom part. So you turn in and press, turn in and press until you form a little rim. I just went around a second time to make sure that it was all stuck together nicely. And this is my pie. It's gonna go into the oven like this to bake for 15 minutes or so before we cut it, because otherwise it's gonna rise up. It's gonna be easier to cut it after it's been cooked for a while. So I do the same. I brush the milk and put the sesame seeds, and it's ready to go into the oven. Batch has come out after 25 minutes, so you see it has a lighter color. My pie has baked for 15 minutes now, so you see it has formed some bubbles there, and it's time to give it a cut. You see, after it's cooked a little bit, it's so much easier to cut it. And try to start cutting from the outer area in order to prevent it from spilling out like I did over there. But it's okay, it's gonna get cooked. And using a jagged knife also would help with the cutting. After 45 minutes, this is my pie. Came out really nice, beautiful color. See how it got cooked here? Okay, so we put it aside and let it cool down. And while this cools down, it's time to taste what we've done here. So let me open up one of those. See how nice it is? It's got a filling, so let me try it. My friends, I cannot explain. It's like little bites of heaven. I hope you're gonna give them a try. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button to get notified on my weekly uploads, and I hope to see you all back healthy on my next video. Until next time, happy baking και καλή σας όρεξη. Bye bye everyone!